I'm sharing everything with my altcoin portfolio. In this video, we're going to share all the next steps and the strategy and the current balance of the altcoin portfolio. Let's get started. During these markets, I'm always looking for opportunities to build my portfolio, and OKX is bringing you an opportunity. They are the first fully licensed exchange in Europe with the lowest fees. And to help you a little bit with your portfolio and to celebrate this milestone, they're giving away up to 50 euros in Bitcoin if you sign up today on the exchange. Signing up can be done within 5 minutes, and if you deposit 100 euros worth of crypto, you'll receive the first 20 euros in Bitcoin. Start rebuilding your portfolio today. Go to the link in the description or scan the QR code and enjoy up to 50 euro in Bitcoin. The past months and years, you can basically just use Titanic for a visual for the current altcoin markets, as it has been constantly trending downwards and it kept on trending downwards. So we are going to discuss the altcoin portfolio to see where it stands. And I think that a lot of people are currently frustrated about the markets, including myself, of course, because I think, or I reckon, that my portfolio is down a lot. I think it's even down more than 50%. Last week we made an update of this portfolio where we were down 44%, and the markets kept on having the standard Sunday crash and then another Monday crash before it starts to run back upwards. But again, it's not as worse as it could have been. I think a lot of meme coins are down 95% or 90% since November and December. But I just repeat, I've been going all into altcoins into the previous cycles, and that has yielded me with tremendous results. I've done it in 2017 and I've done it in 2021. So I've got experience when it comes to this strategy. I have been going down a lot in my portfolio before it went up. It's part of the game. And in this update, I'll share a spreadsheet with all my actions until date. And you can actually see the results, what my game plan is, and you will see the actual return of the portfolio. But before that, let's talk about the current altcoin markets. If we take a look at the Wall Street cheat sheet, then you can ask yourself, how do I feel and where do we currently are? And if we compare that to the average altcoin chart, then the answer is it's quite telling where we are, right? It is probably for Bitcoin somewhere in the middle of a bull cycle or at the start of one, I don't know. Some say we are at the end. But if we look at the altcoins valued against Bitcoin, we are technically at the actual bottom or at the actual phase that we call depression. Because if we are looking at the signs of on the markets, the sentiment, the crypto fear and greed index has hit rock bottom numbers. It has hit 10 and it has been staying between 10 to 20, which we've only been seeing in the past 5 years with the COVID crash, which today, 5 years and a few days ago, it has happened. And the Luna collapse in June of 2022. So those were the two references of sentiment compared to the one right now. And it's the first time in a bull cycle that we're actually experiencing this. But from a fundamental point, the markets have been constantly growing in the sense that last week we've seen that the crypto summit took place in the White House where Sergey was one of the speakers. And I think that also Sergey in our podcast has been sharing a lot of info of why the institutions are moving the markets. And there was a tweet by the White House basically announcing the Bitcoin strategic reserve and the crypto stockpile, whatever that is. But it's telling that in this cycle, governments and institutions are stepping in. So if we go back to the Wall Street cheat sheet, we can basically say that if you're telling me that the cycle is over and that or maybe it's completely over, then that's a representation of the current depression phase for the altcoins. Of course, I can't call the bottom. We can still go down another 20 to 40%, but you understand where I'm coming from. If on the one hand we have price not reflecting the fundamental growth, because on the other hand the fundamental growth is massive, but it's just taking time. Like, it's not like the crypto summit takes place and all of a sudden everybody's buying billions into crypto. No, it's just going to take time before the risk on appetite is back in the game. So now let's have a look at the portfolio and the strategy behind it, so you can actually see what the current return is and what my next steps are going to be. Time for the magic, or for a little cry session, because we're going to look at the actual portfolio. And it's, of course, not my real portfolio. It's a hypothetical portfolio. Out of safety, we're just doing that, and just for making it as simple as possible for you to track, for me to do. That's it. So if we look at the screen here, then we can see that we are currently having a total invested of $110,000. And I've got two tabs, which I'm going to walk you through. First of all, we have been establishing a portfolio in May to June of 2024, which included some coins: Optimism, Tau, Celestia, ENS, Omni, Rocket Pool, Renzo, and Aevo. And the four bigger ones I invested 20k in. The smaller ones the four bigger ones I invested 15k in, and the four smaller ones 10k. As you can see in the mutations here, so Optimism 15k in May to June 2024, Tau the same, Celestia the same, and then ENS is away from this list because we have sold it at some point. So I've been buying those in May to June of 2024, and that 15k was bought at $2.25 per Optimism, resulting into 6.6k of the actual asset. And that is moving towards the main tab, and then you can start building the actual portfolio. So here you can see the total investment into the asset. The next step is the total assets, which I'll get back to in a little bit. And this is the average price per token. So the first thing was that we have been buying those into May to June of 2024. And then we had one mutation taking place in December of 2024, where ENS rallied from 15k in value to 35k in value, which then results into 20k in profit, which goes off the total investment, as you can see. And the money has moved into the other assets. So we have been using, of that 35k, we have been using 20k to buy Psy. As you can see here, 20k has been bought at 45 cents, resulting into 44,000 Psy. And the other 15k I've used to invest additionally into Optimism, Tau, and Celestia. And that's where you get the another $5,000 at $2.20, which is 2.2k Optimism, equaling a total of 8.9k. And the exact same is done for Tau and for Celestia. So there you get into the numbers that we have been seeing here, the 8.9k and the 2.3k Celestia. Additionally, I've been adding one coin. So I added another $10,000, which is in Wormhole, another 10k, which has been invested into Wormhole at February, I think somewhere the 1st or 2nd, February 2025 at 22 cents, equaling 45,000 Wormhole, as you can see here. The final mutation that we've done is that we basically made the video last week, and we saw that there were some imbalances between the portfolio, and those imbalances take place during periods of corrections or upwards momentum, where one of the assets doesn't really drop that much and one of the other ones is going to drop substantially. So then you can move value from one to the other to increase risk, but also to increase the opportunity for upside potential. So then I said, I'm going to sell $6,000 of Tau, and I'm going to sell $2,000 of Psy, which I'm going to be investing into Omni, Rocket Pool, Renzo, and Aevo. So you can see here that I've sold $6,000 into Tau at a price of $345. So 17 Tau were sold out of the balance. And then we have a total of 30.35, which is basically the sum of the three here. And then we have been also selling SAI at 26 cents. You get to the same conclusion, of course. And then we get to the interesting part, which is we have been investing into Omni for 10 grand at 17 bucks, and we got 588 Omni. But now we invested another $2,000 at $4.47, which equals 447.42 Omni. So with all those altcoins that we see here, for instance, Renzo 308 above the 476. Renzo we even doubled, or we increased it more than doubled. Same for Aevo. So by investing, yes, we are down so much, but by investing another 2 grand from the bigger ones into the smaller ones, my average price on the assets have basically decreased substantially, because I started buying Rocket Pool at 21 bucks and I started buying Renzo at 14 cents, but the current valuation for Renzo is 7 cents and the current valuation for Rocket Pool is 15 bucks. So with this tactic and this strategy, I'm going to be able to get back to break even faster once the markets start to go back up. And I know from history that once the markets are going to go back up, it can go in a very fast manner. So the question then is, when are you going to look at potential take profits and another rebalancing strategy? Because in the upwards momentum, we're going to do the exact same trick and we're going to walk you through it. But the current standings is that we invested $110,000 and we are down to 51K. So we are down around 60%, which is awful. So let's have a look at the markets and where we're currently at. If we look at Bitcoin, of course, it's super volatile and the markets have been trending downwards here, which shows that we are currently in a process of finding itself into a bottom. The Nasdaq and all the other assets are also still correcting, through which it is very likely that in the next 1 to 2 weeks to come, the markets are going to find itself into a bottom. And then the primary question is going to be, is Ethereum going to find itself into a bottoming structure as well? And as you can see, I'm just going to remove this. We constantly keep on going down, but the yields are going down, the dollar is going down. And those are all important triggers for the markets to look at for potential reversals. And if we erase this wick, then we can basically say that we are building a massive bullish divergence on Ether versus Bitcoin, which should be leading into upwards momentum going into Q2 of 2025. And the first primary question is, are we into a bull cycle? And I've been showing this thesis multiple times in the history of this channel, is that since I think 2023, I've been saying that this cycle is likely going to be longer than the previous ones. But what we can see here as well is if you calculate the valuation of Bitcoin versus gold, it's still down 23% from its all-time high in 2021. And sentiment was nowhere near peak euphoria. So we're still very much close to the start of the actual bull cycle, which is based from macroeconomics. And when we look at that, we can see that in the previous week we had a massive standard deviation outbreak for the dollar, which is we dropped a lot. And we only have been seeing this 3 times in the past 11 years, which all of them have been marking the bottom for Bitcoin. It was the bottom in 2015, it was the bottom in 2020, it was the bottom in 2022, after which we have seen multiple years of upwards momentum. 1.5 years here, 2 years here, and here we have been constantly going into an upward cycle. So the likelihood of having 1.5 to 2 years bull from here is significant, and then we can basically erase the 4-year cycle. Going towards coins like, for instance, Wormhole, it is a disastrous chart, as you can see. And my first take profit signs are going to be when the bullish divergence starts to kick in. So we need to break above 170 sets, 180 sets. But my first real take profit is a 3 to 4x from here. And that is a lot of upside to come. If we add Bitcoin on top of that, another 30%, you're basically doing a 5x. And then going back to the sheet, The 4.4k here, if you do a 5x, is going to be 20k, and you basically double your investment already. And then there's still a lot of upside to come. So those smaller coins, whether you like it or not, are likely going to do way more in upside than the bigger coins out there. Because if you look at Optimism, for instance, it starts to show a little bit of signs of life. And my first take profit are the range highs that we have been bouncing from in the summer when I started to accumulate these positions, which is a 3x from here. And I think that from that point on, most of the altcoins are going to be interesting to start decreasing your risk from. And if the bigger coins are doing a 3x against Bitcoin and Bitcoin is up 30%, that's basically a 4x in my total portfolio, and even more with the smaller coins. So then I'm already 3 to 4x with a lot of upside to come and way more Bitcoin to be made. So that is my strategy here. Of course, we are completely transparent and we keep sharing everything in these videos. As you can see, I'm entirely transparent and open with my portfolio and my strategy. And that is through periods of upwards momentum. That's through periods where the markets continue to correct. It might be too much for you. That's completely understandable. I'm not saying that you should be doing this. I'm just sharing my game plan. You can do you. That's completely fine. And depending on your own risk profile, you might want to decrease your risk and have Bitcoin and Ethereum in your portfolio. Or you can include more risk by having meme coins, for instance. Everything is completely fine. It's your strategy. I just try to learn and show you what my tactics are and the way of trading into the markets. Ultimately, the bottom line is that right now you feel like you would like to step out of the markets and to sell your positions. In my opinion, based on the data, based on what's been happening in the markets, and based on my experience, it's the worst moment to step out of the game. If I would be selling my positions right now, I think I would regret it in the next 12 months. The reason for that is that I think that we won't be having any easy cycle at all anymore. This cycle hasn't been easy, and it's still possible to have a read on it, but this will finish away over the years to come as it becomes more complex with the institutions jumping into the markets. Therefore, I'm having a very strong fundamental market thesis, and when I've got a thesis, I'm willing to risk it all and go all in on that thesis. I hope you have enjoyed this update. Make sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you again. Ciao!